Hi, I'm Seamless, and this is the making of Ruin Part 1. This is a drum and bass track number 2 on my EP. If you would like, you can actually purchase this FLP, this very project that we're looking at right now. If you want it, you can go to the link in the description, which is just my store page on the Fix Store. Select the deluxe album, and then you can individually choose tracks as well if you want ones over others. Or you can get the whole thing for a sort of a discounted pack deal. Anyway, this is part 1, where we're talking about sort of arrangement elements, where we're identifying individually what's going on in each part of the song. Part 2 will be sound design, and part 3 will be mixing and mastering, and also drums. So this track started out as an experiment regarding drum and bass drums. And actually, the mixing of this track is very different from anything I've ever done, really, at least this well. But I was struggling with sort of even just the average typical drum and bass beat, this thing right here. For some reason, I have just never been able to make like a straight up, just like that kind of sound that's been in like very popular, very large drum and bass tracks for all time. I have done drum and bass, and I've done similar sounding things, but not really to this particular degree. And also the beats themselves were never that interesting, and it didn't have the kind of the breaky, I never really nailed the breaky kind of feel. So this track was really mostly focusing about the drums. And such. There's also these fills, which were originally done with Superior Drummer and then just rendered into a fill, and then put into the song. So the drums are obviously doing their whole thing, and a lot about when I did that, I just sort of built what I felt like was a standard kind of drum and bass, like bass style, narrow-y sort of thing. And a couple of first happens for me as well. Like in particular, this sound, which is what is that? It's probably a patcher of ridiculousness. Yep, a citrus and some other things. It's actually relatively basic for what it's accomplishing, but like that kind of, it's just a tone that I never really nailed before. This guy, this sound, this green guy, is actually from another song that I made for a Sonic Academy, a Bass Gorilla. This is a Bass Gorilla sound. Or was it a Sonic Academy sound? It might have been a Bass Gorilla sound. But like I sort of accidentally did this thing with some Triangle FM, and it ended up doing pretty neat, like Phil FM, like drum and bass sound. So I like, when I was starting to make a song, I was like, oh, I should go get that preset, and I ended up using it. And then there's this guy, which I believe is a variation. That's not, never mind. It's just a pretty regular sort of Reese sounding thing. However, it does have a double, which shows up at the end. Was it the one? Yeah, this guy. Okay, so we have a couple of versions of it. We have this dude, which is, okay, so this sound, if you're looking at the EP for the first time, you'll see this is the first time that we've seen this sound. However, it's actually originated from the track Glass. When we go to Glass, you'll see that this, basically the entire drop is made out of this sound and variations of it. It's a very standard Reese sounding thing, and it did the job quite well. Let's turn the drums off. Yeah. And then there's this dude, which is the phaser version of it. So this sound is super important because I actually made it I had a bass on this. I don't remember what number it was, but it was called Old School Flanger Reese. And this is what this is. I'm using a flanger to create the kind of spectral striations that make that sort of motion sound. Now, what was really neat is that when I did this, I posted how to bass on the Reddit, and then actually one of the members of Evil Intent commented on it and told me that there's sort of the real way that they actually do the sound, which is that they render it out and then they sort of manually unison it against itself so that it creates phase cancellation. And that's actually a little bit what's happening anyway, just by what the flanger does. But the breakthrough for me was that I never, because I knew that about the sound, but I just never did it to the right sound. I would do it to other stuff and things that didn't have the right properties to really take advantage of it. We'll talk more about that when we do the sound design portion. So most of those basses are just repetitions and versions of these things. In fact, there's pretty much no other sound for basses, with the possible exception of this guy, the flub. This is the bridge bass. So back to the arrangement. I made this drop, and even the way that it kind of tapers out, like the first part of this has the drums with the full beat. with all the fill elements in there, and then the last beat is very like open. And that's actually because when I first made this drop, I was mostly using it as a sort of an example of like just saying, oh, I've done this style, it was kind of cool, and I didn't really finish it. And I also sort of let the drums go so that we could hear these basses without the interference of sort of the extra sort of ambient content. And I was really just there as a demonstration sort of thing, but I just got so used to being like that that's just how the arrangement went from then on. And then all the bridges per purpose that exists for is to just get to the doing it again. Again, that's one of these songs where I just like really am just trying to get to doing the drops, and intros and bridges are just there because of convention. On top of stuff, we have a lot of like these kind of stabby chords, which I think are harmers. Yeah, it's a Valhalla reverb. And then they have these ambient chords, which have a little bit of automation on them. This is also a harmor. You can see how like this is just in a patcher by itself. That's because when I make these sounds, I usually plan to do more things to it. I'm just kind of like, okay, I'm gonna make a sound and do some glaring or whatever. But then like I just do what I want. Like I actually get what I want out of it, like out of just the one instance. I just don't bother taking it out of the patcher, which is actually kind of bad because patcher negates multi-threading. So it's actually a bit of a CPU burden to have things inside patcher like that without doing patchery based things in there. But this kind of sound like this, and also the chord, which was kind of, I just sort of studied the genre of this sort of older school drum and bass tracks, and it just found sounds that had that kind of like vaguely industrial ambient sound, and that's kind of what that was. And also this guy is hilarious because this isn't even close to what this sounds like for real. Like this is SFX electro drop. Where is the original sound? Oh, come on. There it is. So that's what it sounds like originally. And I just time stretched really hard and then reverb it in the breaking everything. Reverb it in post. They have that weird kind of like backgroundy sound. What else is important? So I mentioned the flub. Just a hardware doing some phasery stuff, and like sort of I took the hats and the rides out of like the out of the thing, and it had that sort of a side effect of having that like tick-tock kind of sound. I didn't actually plan on that happening. That's just what was happening in the beat. And just putting the drums in there in the beginning, like I listened to a lot of drum and bass, and one thing I sort of realized while I was trying to like plan how to finish the arrangement for this is that like a lot of those tracks, the people who made those tracks gave about as less of a fuck as I do about intros and drops and that kind of thing. And thank you, Facebook. Sorry, guys. And it just sort of gave me sort of just the personal freedom of just being like, well, whatever, fine. I'm just gonna just build up, and then the drop's gonna happen, and then the song's gonna be fine. That's just sort of what's up with that. And I know, like actually, like so far in having done the making ofs, a lot of people have criticized my EP for not having a lot of musicality and being like, "Oh, you're a great engineer, but like your music is bad or whatever." And like that's fine if you think that, but that's like I'm doing this on purpose. I'm not doing this. I don't care really about the musicality of things. This has the musicality that I want, and like. Because the age-old question when you think of these things, because you can look at other people's opinions, look at references, and that's all helpful stuff, to like get feedback for your tracks. But really, the question you should be asking yourself is if like would you listen to this track like when you're making your own stuff? Like if you're thinking, is this track good enough? The answer to that question is, would you honestly listen to this track like on purpose, and like not just because you made it, but because you actually like it. And like for a very long time, for a lot of producers, myself included, that answer is usually no. But it's been a very long time. I've been producing for about 12 years now, and I'm at the point where I kind of can just make the stuff that I want to listen to, and this is one of them. There's two different fills. It's good stuff. And there's a hat loop. What is this? It's a ride loop. And like this crash is actually like a part of the fill over here. Is that supposed to be like that? But whatever. Anyway, and I just cut it off and like put it on like hits so that there's a hit there for like crashes and stuff like that. And I don't actually think there's anything else happening here. There's really not a lot. Just a bunch of Reese's, a couple of more sound designy, kind of growly things. This is actually just a lot simpler than it looks, and it's a bit of an accent that I created. But we'll get more into how that feels and how that came about in the sound design portion. However, I just want to kind of preface the mixing portion of this is actually very interesting because it looks like I'm doing a lot of ducking. I'm doing a lot of like sidechain style ducking where we're cutting off huge parts of whatever. But I want to point out that, well, this is the ducking, but this envelope determines when it's active, and as you can see, it's barely ever active. So like what the sound that we're feeling and the mix of it all is actually being accomplished by just bare naked mixing of the drums and the basses and stuff together, which is pretty much this is the only track I've done that on since before I discovered what sidechaining was, and that kind of thing. And then the outro was just I just did things till it ended. I'm fine with that. I'm just so fine with that. Anyway, that's about it for this. It's pretty much all the information that's necessary. If you have any questions about this, please let me know. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And as usual, have a nice day.